What's up, Mafia? The NFL schedule just dropped. The A.J. Brown situation, that just got a little bit more complicated. And Jalen Hurts might have just leaked something that nobody was ready for, but we're all here for it. So, let's get it mixing. Let's start here, because A.J. Brown is not a Patriot yet, and the Eagles are in no rush to move him. That's the update, and it changes everything about how this trade ends. Former NFL insider Jason LaCanfora put out a report saying the Eagles have zero pressure to move A.J. Brown by June 1st. He states multiple high-level NFL execs are telling him, don't think June 1st, don't think June 2nd, think later. And think, what if a contending team loses a receiver to injury in the next 6 weeks and the market explodes? And now, new teams are throwing themselves into the mix. Kansas City, San Francisco, and Jacksonville. Kansas City makes sense. They didn't take an offensive player in the first 2 days of the NFL draft. This move makes sense, but it's a move that I would make. We all dislike the Chiefs, and I can't see Howie Roseman sending them to our AFC rival. Now San Francisco, that's harder to believe. They just traded for Mike Evans. But think about if Brandon Ayuk is actually gone. Now you're pairing Mike Evans with A.J. Brown, and that's a completely different conversation. This is another move that I hate, and we're not sending him to the 49ers. But the one that actually makes the most sense is the Jacksonville Jaguars. LaCanfora also mentioned a personal exec who flagged the Jacksonville Jaguars as a real fit. And why they fit is because Brian Thomas Jr. has regressed. And Travis Hunter, their 2025 pick, is going to play more cornerback than receiver going forward. And a vet like A.J. Brown fills that void immediately. Now here's why this matters to the Eagles. If Jacksonville is offering Brian Thomas Jr., that's a 4.3 40. He's a proven NFL receiver. He's young and his contract is cheap, versus whatever New England puts on the table. And that's not even close. Then you have Jen Murray reporting that sources told him that A.J. Brown was spotted looking at condos in Boston's Seaport District this week.
I have heard from someone that helps run one of the big fancy condos in the Seaport that A.J. Brown and his people will be speaking to said management of big fancy condo in the Seaport about residency this coming week. And it wasn't you who told me, so we can take your big fancy building in the Seaport out of the equation. And so that's it. There's really nothing more than that. So doesn't that look? This isn't. I don't think it's even that big of news because it feels like this is fait accompli. A.J. Brown's coming to the Patriots. There hasn't been any other teams that have been buzzing around that have any kind of interest in him. And the way this thing's been reported from Adam Schefter and the bigwigs that cover the league over the last couple of weeks is like, well, just wait till June 1st. It's happening. Is basically what they're saying. So this helps cement that.
So the lease begins June 1st.
Yeah, probably. This thing's a bigger story if he doesn't come.
Yeah, right.
At this stage, and I think we've all felt that way for a long time.
Is this confirmed? No. Does it mean something? Probably. But until a deal is signed, the Eagles hold all the leverage. And right now, this is exactly what Howie Roseman wanted. More teams, more competition, and a bigger return. The handshake with New England might still be real. But handshakes aren't contracts, and Howie Roseman doesn't leave money on the table. Now, let's talk about the schedule because it just dropped and there's a lot to unpack, including a decision that the Eagles organization made that their players aren't too thrilled about. The Eagles have 8 standalone primetime games, most in the entire league, tied with the Rams. The NFL doesn't put 8 primetime games on one team's schedule because they think that the team might be decent. They do it because they know that the team is must-see TV. Whether you're rooting for Jalen Hurts or waiting for him to fail, people are watching. Analytics ranks Philadelphia with the 7th easiest schedule overall. And of the 8 teams playing a first place schedule this season, the Eagles have the easiest. But here's where it gets complicated. Because easy on paper doesn't mean smooth in practice. The Eagles and the Chargers are the only 2 teams in the entire NFL playing 4 opponents coming off their bye weeks this season, while 14 other teams don't face a single one. For the Eagles, it's Week 6 versus the Carolina Panthers coming off their bye. Week 8, the Washington Commanders coming off their bye. Week 9, the New York Giants coming off of their bye week. And the Indianapolis Colts, Week 14, coming off of their bye. According to 2026 schedule analytics, the Eagles have a net rest differential negative of 15 days. Second worst in the entire league. Only the Chargers, sitting at a negative 24, have it worse. Meanwhile, the Cowboys have a plus 11 rest advantage. Washington a plus 10, and the Giants, they have a plus 3. So when people say the schedule is easy, that's only part of the story. The rest of the story is the Eagles are constantly playing rested teams while running on fumes themselves. And then there's the London situation, which the Eagles actually made harder on themselves. Week 5, the Eagles play the Jacksonville Jaguars in London, 9:30 a.m. on October 11th. And normally, the teams, when they play overseas, they get a bye week that following week. Recovery time, travel adjustment, that's basic common sense. But the Philadelphia Eagles turned it down. Jeffrey Lurie declined the post-London bye week in order to keep the Week 10 slot. The analytics department ran the numbers. The preference was a mid-season bye over an early one. Lurie said it himself publicly that the data supports a bye in the middle of the year for recovery and preparation. But here's what that decision cost them. Week 6, no bye. Instead, the Carolina Panthers at home, coming off of their bye week. So the Eagles fly back from London, deal with a 5-hour time zone difference, and then they turn around and play a team that's been rested for 2 weeks. Now in their defense, from week 6 all the way to week 12, the Eagles barely have to board a plane. After London, the only road game in that stretch is Washington, and all they have to do is bus to DC. They don't have to take a flight. And then from week 14 to week 18, they only fly once, all the way up to San Francisco in week 17. So yes, the London decision creates a rough landing, but the back half of the schedule, the travel is actually one of the most manageable ones in the entire league. Jimmy Kempski pointed out another wrinkle. Washington in week 1 might actually be harder than expected because the Commanders have 2 brand new coordinators. So there's mystery on both sides of the ball in week 1. No film, no tendencies locked in yet. That being said, the Eagles open as a 5.5 point favorite at home, one of the largest spreads on the entire week 1 slate. So now that we have our whole entire schedule lined up, let's go through it. Week 1, Eagles versus the Commanders. That's going to be a home opener win. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and Sean May's new offense against what was one of the worst defenses in football last year. Jayden Daniels is back healthy, so you got to give that to the Commanders. But the link is going to be deafening, and Philadelphia is not going to lose their first game at home. Eagles start at 1-0. Week 2, Eagles at the Titans. That's going to be a win in Nashville. Tennessee is in rebuild under Robert Saleh and Cam Ward. You want this team early, not late when they find their identity. Eagles go to 2-0. Week 3, Eagles face the Bears in Chicago. And I think that'll be a loss on Monday Night Football. The Bears beat the Eagles last year. Ben Johnson had a game plan that exposed Vic Fangio's defense. And the offense was a mess. And it's early enough in the system where Sean Mannion's new system may be finding its footing. So I'm taking the Bears, and the Eagles fall to 2-1 on the season. Week 4, the Philadelphia Eagles host the Rams. And I have that as a win at home. The Rams have not beaten the Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field during the Matthew Stafford era. And I believe that continues. The Eagles move to 3-1. Week 5, the Eagles versus the Jaguars in London. And I have that as a win for the Eagles. The Jaguars went 13-4 last year. They're not a pushover team. But the Eagles show up on international stages. They did it in Brazil, and they're going to do it again in London. That leaves them at a 4-1 record. Week 6, Panthers at the Eagles. Another win. But this is the trap game that everyone is worried about. The Panthers are coming off of their bye week. The Eagles will just be flying back from London. But it's at home, and the link doesn't let you sleep. The Eagles got it out and moved to 5-1. Now week 7, the Dallas Cowboys in Philadelphia, and you know that's going to be a win. A Monday Night Football on October 26th. At the link, back-to-back home games for the first time since our Super Bowl year. The Eagles win a primetime game against their rivals and go to 6-1. Week 8, Eagles at the Commanders. I have that marked down as a win, while others might think differently. This is Sunday Night Football in Washington. A short week coming off of Monday Night Football. The Commanders have played the Eagles rough regardless of record in recent memory. But I think the Eagles still pull it off. The Eagles move to 7-1. Week 9, the Giants at Philadelphia. That's another win. John Harbaugh is in New York. The Giants are trending upwards. But the Eagles are still locked in and looking to make a statement against their rivals. The Eagles sit at 8-1 going into their bye week. And then we have our bye week, and that leads us right into week 11, where we host the Steelers in Philadelphia. That's going to be a win in the battle for Pennsylvania. Aaron Rodgers holds his position as the Steelers quarterback. Mike McCarthy is the new head coach. But the Eagles, coming off of a bye at home, that's a comfortable win. The Eagles move to 9-1. Week 12, Eagles at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. The last time these teams met on Thanksgiving was 2014. That's when Mark Sanchez, LaShawn McCoy, and Jeremy Maclin walked into Jerry World and handled business. I believe the Eagles come in and do the same. They moved to 10-1. Week 13, Eagles at the Cardinals. That's going to be a win. Jalen Hurts has unfinished business in that building since Super Bowl 57. Carson Beck is probably going to be the quarterback at that point. The Eagles move to 11-1. Week 14, Colts at the Eagles. That's going to be another win. Shane Steichens and Daniel Jones come back to Philadelphia. The storylines write themselves. The Eagles handle it and move on to 12-1. Week 15, Seahawks at the Eagles. And I actually have this one as a loss. The Eagles have the Super Bowl champions on a short week. As of late, the Seahawks have had the Eagles number. And it's a Saturday game. We're scheduling all the way around. And this is the start of the toughest stretch on the schedule. The Eagles fall to 12-2. Week 16, the Texans at the Eagles. I have that as a win. Houston's defense was elite last year. It was the best in football by most metrics. But it's at home, it's the holidays, and Lincoln Financial Field will be rocking. The Eagles steal Christmas and move to 13-2. Week 17, the Eagles at the 49ers, and I have that as a loss. Sunday Night Football in San Francisco. To me, I think this is a game where the Eagles rest their starters. If seeding is locked up, this is where Sirianni pulls the plug. San Francisco gets a W on paper, and the Eagles fall to 13-3. Week 18, Eagles versus the Giants, and I have that as another loss at MetLife Stadium. The starters are getting rested, and the Giants get one at home. The Eagles lose and are 13-4 on paper, but the NFC East title is already clinched. So my final record prediction is the Eagles go 13-4, and once again are the NFC East champions. Now, on to something else I found interesting. During the Eagles official schedule release video, Saquon asked the room, Kelly Greens or All Blacks? And Jalen Hurts didn't hesitate. He said the Kelly White Greens. And here's why that matters. In regards to color schemes, Hurts has already done this once. In 2021, he pushed for the white jersey with black pants combo. That's now a staple in the uniform rotation. He made it happen once, so it's not far-fetched that he makes it happen again. And honestly, it's definitely a possibility. With Jalen Hurts publicly pushing for it, and Howie Roseman listening in, those white Kelly Greens are coming eventually. So, where are we right now as Eagles fans? The AJ Brown situation isn't over. And honestly, the Eagles might walk away with a better deal than they expected. The bidding war that Howie Roseman wanted is finally here. And the schedule, yes, it has a few landmines. 4 teams coming off their bye weeks, and London with no rest. Short weeks scattered through the back half of the schedule, but this roster was built for this. Depth at receiver, and a defense that Vic Fangio runs off discipline. And a bye week at week 10 that puts the Eagles at the midpoint healthy and rested. 13-4, and the NFC East champions. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Eagles can run the table in the division? Can Sean Mannion's new offense be the decision maker? Drop it in the comment section and let me know. Also, like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. You don't want to miss the OTA coverage. So we'll see you in the next one. And once again, I've been Brother Shy, and this has been the Midnight Green Mafia.